idea probably about 10 years ago when I was teaching at Morgan State University. And one of the assignments that I had with a grant, that was sponsored through NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, was that we do an inner city camp exposing the kids to their environment. So now, 10 years later, I have what we call Enviro Kids. And this is our 4th year doing Enviro Kids, and the sponsors are the North Carolina Forest Service and the USDA. And what we're working on this summer, one of the things that we wanted to do was to look at a distressed waterway and see what we could do to improve it, and basically to introduce the kids to their environment, and that this waterway is right in their environment, and that they need to know that this waterway, which we selected, Goose Creek, which is practically downtown Durham, in the community that a lot of the kids grew up in, exists, and that it's very stressed, it's very polluted, and that there's a need for them to realize that they can have some control over saving this particular environment and saving this waterway.
Well, I was introduced to the camp by Mr. Wayne. He told me it was a great idea to do before college, so I jumped onto it.
Well, the first place we went to, we actually went and saw wetlands, and we were able to see like the different plants and the like the things that are included into a wetland and stuff. And I really got excited about that and the different types of soil and stuff.
So this summer we selected, and we're going to do a lot of studying around waterways, around what happens in waterways. We would study these. The kids would learn about what happens with the hydraulic system or water cycle, and they would then eventually, we would figure out a way how we could help Goose Creek at the end of the summer. So we did a lot over the summer. We did our normal studying of the forest and trees, and we also did our normal studies of actually testing particular water bodies and seeing what the health of the water body was. But we particularly focused on the Eno River, when we went there and we tested the flow of the Eno River, how fast the water was flowing.
The Eno River was probably one of my favorite excursions because we got to race ducks there. We was checking the water flow, how fast the water was heading. So what we did is we raced the ducks to see, I think it was the velocity of the water.
We went to an estuary in near Emerald Isle, and we actually had the kids build a coral reef, which they helped build a coral reef, which would help stabilize the bank of the water body, as well as sort of ease down some of the flooding. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it.
I've learned more about estuaries because I learned about it in science class, but it was really cool to actually go out and really go in the water and see where the ocean and the freshwater meets. So that was really cool. And I got to see fish and stuff and shrimp, which was really cool.
I really didn't know that because of the different levels of where the land is, that the filth actually gets pushed down when it's raining to a certain area. We were able to see that during the wetlands. There's a lot of trash in some of the areas because of that, pollution and stuff.
We went to two educational forests. We studied at Jordan Lake Educational Forest, and we studied at the Clemens Educational Forest, and we looked at the ecology of the forest. We looked at the hydrology of the forest, and each forest, of course, has their own water body. So we looked at what the health of those water bodies were. We did some things with the kids that they normally would not ever do. They did not know about different vegetation. We looked at plant identification. We did some study of using different instruments to figure out how people figure out about the logging, the economics of forestry. We went to one particular forest and we actually had the kids use instruments to see what the lifespan of trees were. We looked at trees that were growing in the forest and trees that grew outside of the forest. So we looked at traditional forestry and we looked at urban forestry.
I really like the tree cutting, the tree trimming. It was really cool to see what was dead and needed to be trimmed, and what was good and it was okay. I thought that was really cool, because when I think about it, I don't feel like trees are really alive. When you think about it, it just doesn't seem like they're alive. But when people actually tell you that you have to take care of your trees, then I was just like, wow, that's kind of cool.
One of the things that we studied at the Clemens Educational Forest was determining the way trees grow. The size, that size doesn't really necessarily mean the age of the tree, and we figured out that there are instruments that you can use to determine how many logs you can get out of a tree. That's the Biltmore stick, and also that there's an instrument where you bore into the tree, and then that can actually show you how many rings the tree has, and that will actually tell you the age of a tree as opposed to the height of the tree. So we studied that at one forest, and then we continued to look at various elements of the forest. One of the things was that we looked at the FireWise program, which was the program that the U.S. Forest Service comes up with to teach people how to protect their forests and their homes against forest fires. How things that you can do to check to make sure that your home is fireproof. And one of the things that was kind of interesting is that you need to have your mailbox needs to be able to display the number of your house so that in case there is a fire, the fire truck will know where to come to.
When we went to the bee place, I learned that the queen bee, they fight to see who can be the queen if one dies.
We went to the Bear Corporation and we went to on their bee tour, and the kids were amazed at what the bumblebee actually does for our lives. Without the bumblebee and the pollination of the bees, probably our food supply would be cut down tremendously. At least a quarter of our food supply will be cut down. So they learned a lot about the bees. They learned a lot about, at the Bear Center, they learned a lot about the whole socialization process of the bees. And I think they were really amazed that there's one queen bee and then there are all the worker bees, and the queen bee controls everything.
My favorite trip was probably the one when we went to the farm and we got to pick vegetables. That was actually really fun, like seeing like how to plant in a garden and the different fruits and vegetables that you get to grow.
We went to a farm called the Hub Farm, and that farm is located in Durham, right near Northern High School, and they have about 30 some acres, and they bring kids from all over the public schools in Durham to see what a farm is and how it actually works. And they have some little kids that come from different, different ages, and they actually have some kids that actually work the farm during the summer. So we interacted with them. We created at that farm, we looked at rain gardens, and the kids actually got to help build some of the rain gardens at the farm. We continued to study the environment by going to the North Carolina State University, and they they have a department called the GIS department. So we went to the GIS lab, and it's the Geographic Information System, and they taught the kids about looking at the environment using this GIS system. They also went and made recycled paper while we were at NC State. So NC State was a very important resource for us.
It's actually a lot of fun. It helps you to know what's actually in your surroundings and the different things, like different types of trees and stuff. Because when you look outside, you just think about trees, but it's also very interesting to know what types of trees and how to identify them. Also, it gives you aware about the pollution and the things that are harming the environment and how we can actually help them. So we can actually have resources in the future, and we can sustain how long we're gonna have them, because we're actually using a lot of things that we wouldn't even have in the future because of the amount that we're using them and stuff. And also, we can learn to meet new people that we've never met before, and it's very helping to like our social skills to just meet new people that we've never met before or in the same area as us.
So what as we did all of the studying and going to all the different places, the one thing we wanted to keep in mind was to help clean Goose Creek. And Goose Creek was selected because a lot of the kids in our camp lived around Goose Creek. They were familiar with the East End Park and the Long Meadow Park, which are the two parks that Goose Creek sort of snakes through. So they were familiar with those parks, they were familiar with the community, they were familiar with the people that use the park, and they themselves use the park. So they were totally engaged in, okay, this is Goose Creek and this is our home creek. So what we did was we went to visit the city of Durham, the planning department, and they gave us a lot of information on the health of Goose Creek, which is not in good condition. They also gave us information on water flow, and that they made the kids understand that if they pollute anywhere around the creek, eventually if they throw paper down, it's going to make it to the creek, and it's going to help pollute the creek, which really eventually affects the health of the Raleigh community, because Goose Creek runs into Falls Lake. So if they keep picking up paper and have their friends pick up paper in that particular area or anywhere, then eventually it will help clean the waterway. So we built a huge topographic model of the Goose Creek area because we wanted to see what was actually polluting the creek.
During the camp, we learned about different types of maps, and for example, like topographic maps, which we have here. These little dense or elevation things, they're like contours, all contours. And this is Goose Creek in Durham, North Carolina. And the lowest points is where the creek is, and there's schools, and there's like a park, and water flows all the way down to Goose Creek.
But then it came down to what we actually could do. So at the end, we figured that we would go and join up with Keep Durham Beautiful and have a major cleanup around the creek. So we got all our gear together, we met Keep Durham Beautiful, we went out to the creek and we picked up paper and bottles, and we put one in the recycling bag and one in the bag that wasn't a recycling bag, and we picked up a lot of paper, and we actually did a really good job, and we figured out how we could clean up Goose Creek, and we did it in 3 hours, and it was very, very exciting for the kids. They saw that they had an opportunity to be hands-on and clean up the creek, and we're still trying to think of other ways that we could help improve the environment, but that cleanup was major, and we would like to thank Keep Durham Beautiful, and of course the kids did a wonderful job. So that was our end product, and we figured it out at the very end that this was what we could do.
I've learned about like a lot of things, and this would help my college application because I was able to go out of my comfort zone and actually look at the environment around me, and I think that would actually stand out to know that I didn't just go to regular camp, I actually did stuff to help others.
Well, I learned a couple things. I know where a deciduous plant is. I mean, a tree, actually. I know what the evergreen tree is. I know about what we pollute the water with now. And I also learned how to change the waterways to make them better and cleaner.
If you want to come, if you want to learn more about the environment, you should come here because it's really fun and you get to be with people. You get to learn new things because I didn't know nothing about trimming trees. I knew a little bit about estuaries, but I wanted to know more about it, and I thought that was really cool. And then the counselors, everybody here is nice. And if someone treats you unfairly, you can always tell an adult or a grown-up and it'll be fixed right away.
Enviro Kids is a great opportunity, so you kids need to get out here and come next summer.